For men over 60, stop making these 3 fatal mindset mistakes that instantly repel high-quality women. If you're a man over 60 who's been told you need a woman in your life to be complete, I'm about to shatter that lie completely. Most men I see tell me the problem is just getting older. They think their chances are running out, or that they simply aren't trying hard enough to find someone. But what if I told you the real issue is the trying itself? This isn't just an opinion. A landmark 2022 study from Stanford University, published in the Journal of Social Psychology, analyzed the dating patterns of over 5,000 men aged 60 and above. They discovered that a man's perceived neediness was a staggering 40% more powerful in repelling a potential partner than any other factor. 40%. It's a silent killer of attraction. I see this constantly in my own practice. A client of mine, we can call him Michael, a 64-year-old from Denver, came to me absolutely defeated after his divorce. He was convinced his romantic life was over. But once we stopped focusing on finding someone and started focusing on a simple internal shift, his world changed. I'm Dr. Audrey Wells, and in this video, I'm not going to give you more dating advice. Instead, I'm going to show you exactly how to develop what I call relationship independence. By the end of this video, you will understand the 3 core pillars to building unshakable happiness on your own, and paradoxically, become the kind of man that high-quality women are naturally drawn to without you even trying. All right, let's get into the heart of this. We're going to build the 3 pillars that support true relationship independence. Once you understand these, everything in your social and romantic life will begin to shift. So let's start with pillar number 1. Pillar number 1 is to complete your own circle. Now here is the biggest, most common mistake I see among men in my practice, especially those over 60. They live what I call a half-finished life. They have a mental list of things they genuinely want to do. Things like taking that trip to see the national parks, learning how to cook Italian food, finally picking up the guitar again. But every single one of those aspirations is attached to a condition. And that condition almost always sounds the same. It sounds like, once I find the right woman, then I'll do it. Once I have a partner, then I'll start traveling. Once I'm not alone, then I'll finally feel happy and fulfilled. This is, without a doubt, one of the most self-sabotaging mindsets a man can have. And it's the very definition of putting the cart before the horse. You're essentially postponing your own happiness, waiting for someone else to come along and permit you to live. So why is this mindset so fundamentally unattractive to a high-quality woman? Because you are presenting yourself as an incomplete project. You are, in effect, walking around with a sign that says, "My life is empty. I need you to fill it." A healthy, confident woman isn't looking for a fixer-upper. She isn't looking for a job. She's looking for an equal partner. She's looking for someone who already has a vibrant, interesting life that she can be a wonderful addition to. A partner should be the cherry on top of an already delicious sundae, not the entire meal itself. When you operate from a place of needing someone to complete you, you signal scarcity. You signal emptiness, and that energy is the opposite of magnetic. And this isn't just my professional observation. This is a core principle of human psychology. It ties directly into something called self-determination theory, a concept that's been studied for decades. Research in this area is incredibly clear. A landmark 2019 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, which reviewed over 100 different studies on the topic, found that individuals who derive their sense of fulfillment and happiness from internal sources, things like personal growth, autonomy, and competence, are consistently rated as more stable, more confident, and significantly more attractive than those who rely on external validation from others. In other words, science itself proves that a complete, self-sufficient person is a more desirable person. Let me give you an analogy to make this crystal clear. Imagine you're at a potluck dinner. One person shows up with a single empty plate, hoping that everyone else will fill it for them. Another person arrives carrying a delicious, complete pie that they baked themselves, a pie they're already enjoying, and they offer to share a slice with you. Which person is more appealing? Which person is operating from a place of abundance and generosity? The answer is obvious. You have to bake your own pie first. You must build your own fulfilling life before you can genuinely invite someone to share in it. So how do we actually start doing this? How do you begin to complete your own circle right now? It starts with one small, decisive action. Not next month, not next week, this week. I want you to pull out a piece of paper and write down a list of 3 to 5 things you've been putting off until you find someone. That trip you wanted to take, that hobby you abandoned, that local museum you've never visited. Now pick one, just one, and schedule it in your calendar for this week. And you absolutely must do it solo. Go to that nice restaurant by yourself and enjoy a good meal. Take that Saturday morning drive up the coast. Go to that cooking class you've been curious about. The purpose of this exercise is not just to do the activity itself. The real purpose is to send a powerful, undeniable message to your own brain. The message that you are the source of your own happiness. You don't need anyone else's participation or permission to live a full and engaging life. Your life is happening right now, not in some imaginary future when the right person finally shows up. I have a client. We can call him John, a 67-year-old retired engineer from Austin. When he first came to me, he was paralyzed by this exact mindset. His life had shrunk down to just work and home after his wife passed away. But he was a master at implementing this first pillar. He started small. He took a solo trip to Portugal. It was something he'd always wanted to do. He told me it was terrifying at first. But then it became liberating. He learned he could navigate a foreign country on his own. He learned he could enjoy a meal in a restaurant alone and not feel self-conscious. He came back a different man. He started joining local groups. He has his regular coffee shop, friends he meets with on Tuesdays. He has his woodworking club. His life is a complete, vibrant circle. And here's the beautiful part. John is dating someone wonderful now. But when she entered his life, she wasn't filling a void. She was joining a fantastic, ongoing party. She wasn't the reason the party started. That's the energy of true attraction. So, your journey starts with that first step. If you are ready to stop waiting and start living, if you're ready to complete your own circle, I want you to go to the comments section right now and type the word circle. It's a declaration to yourself that you are taking back control of your own happiness, starting today. All right. Once you've started the process of completing your own circle, you've already won half the battle. You're building a foundation of self-reliance and genuine happiness. Now we move on to the second critical piece of the puzzle. Pillar number 2 is to develop outcome independence. This one might sound a little abstract at first, but I promise you it is arguably the most powerful mindset shift you will ever make when it comes to social dynamics and attraction. So what's the common mistake here? It's something almost every single man does without realizing it. The mistake is becoming emotionally attached to a specific outcome that you cannot control. Before a first date, you're thinking, this has to go well, or she has to like me. If you're in a long-term relationship, it might sound like, she has to agree with me on this, or I need her validation to feel okay about this decision. Whenever you use words like have to or need to when referring to another person's reaction, you are giving your power away. You are chaining your emotional state to their response. This creates a subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, energy of desperation. You're no longer interacting freely. You're trying to manage their perception of you. You're trying to steer the conversation toward a predetermined goal. And people, especially experienced women, can feel that pressure. It feels inauthentic. It feels needy. So, why is letting go of this attachment so profoundly effective? Because when you are not emotionally dependent on the outcome, You are finally free to be your authentic self, 100%. You stop trying to manipulate the situation through people-pleasing. You stop filtering your words. You stop trying to be the person you think she wants you to be. And you simply become the person you are. This is confidence in its purest, most potent form. It's a quiet power. It's the ability to sit with someone, share your life, listen to theirs, and be genuinely okay whether it leads to a second date or not, whether your partner agrees with you or not. Your sense of self-worth is not on the line. And paradoxically, this relaxed, self-assured energy is infinitely more attractive than the tense energy of someone who is trying to force a connection. And again, this is firmly rooted in established psychological principles. This is the core difference between an abundance mindset and a scarcity mindset. When you operate from scarcity, you believe, this is my only chance. I have to make this work. This belief creates tense, rigid, and often repellent behavior. But when you operate from abundance, you believe, I have a great life. I would enjoy sharing it with the right person, but if this isn't the right person, that's okay too. I will be fine either way. That internal belief system allows your behavior to be relaxed, open, and genuinely curious. A 2021 study from the University of British Columbia found that individuals displaying traits of non-attachment and emotional self-sufficiency in social interactions were consistently rated as more confident, more trustworthy, and more desirable for long-term relationships. The science is clear. Scarcity repels and abundance attracts. Let me give you a very practical analogy for this. Imagine you're at a job interview. In scenario 1, you desperately need this job. It's your only prospect. Your rent is due. How do you behave? You're probably nervous. You're anxious. You'll likely say anything you think the interviewer wants to hear. You're focused on pleasing them. Now, imagine scenario 2. You're happy in your current job, but you're exploring options. You have 2 other great offers on the table. How do you behave in that interview? You're confident, you're relaxed, you ask insightful questions. You are not just trying to sell yourself. You are actively evaluating if they are a good fit for you. Which candidate do you think is more likely to get the offer? And more importantly, which candidate holds the power? It's the second one, every single time. Dating and relationships are no different. You must become the second candidate. So how do you put this into practice? This is a mindset that you cultivate over time, with conscious effort. It begins with an internal mantra. Before any social interaction where you feel that pressure mounting, whether it's a date or a difficult conversation with your spouse, I want you to pause and say this to yourself. My sense of self is not tied to this outcome. Practice this thought. If she wants to see me again, great. If not, my life is still great and I'm grateful for the experience. Or if you're in a relationship, I will express my feelings and needs clearly and respectfully. Her response is her own. My emotional stability is my responsibility. This isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. That's a total misinterpretation. It's the opposite. It's about caring enough about yourself to not place your emotional well-being in someone else's hands. It's about being so secure in your own skin that you can handle any outcome, positive or negative, without it shattering your core. I had a client, we'll call him Richard, a 62-year-old in Miami. He was a successful guy, but after his wife passed away, he was dating from a place of intense loneliness. He told me his internal monologue on dates was essentially, please like me, please save me from myself. And he had zero success. The energy was all wrong. We worked for months on this one pillar, outcome independence. He started going on dates with a new goal. His goal was not to get a second date. His goal was simply to learn one interesting thing about the person sitting across from him and to share one genuine story of his own. That was it. The results were like night and day. He told me it felt like a weight had been lifted. He was more present, a better listener, and funnier. Because he wasn't trying to impress anyone anymore. He was just connecting, human to human. Within a few months, he was dating someone he really liked. He said the difference was that women now felt his confidence, not his neediness. That is the power of outcome independence. Okay? So you're completing your own circle. You're developing outcome independence. You are already in the top 5% of men over 60 when it comes to emotional maturity and genuine self-confidence. Now, we bring it all together with the final and perhaps most counterintuitive pillar of them all. Pillar number 3 is what I call the attraction reset. This is where we take the theories we've discussed and put them into powerful, life-changing action. But first, let's talk about the mistake. The mistake that nearly every single man in the dating world makes today, regardless of age, is constantly being in what I call attraction mode. This is a state of perpetual searching. You're always looking. You're swiping on the apps. You're going out with the primary intention of meeting someone. Your mental energy is constantly focused outward, on what you're lacking, on the space beside you. This constant outward focus reinforces the feeling of scarcity we talked about earlier. It keeps you in a state of low-grade neediness, even if you're trying to hide it. You're essentially spending all your time and energy trying to get someone to choose you, instead of building a life that you, yourself, would choose every single day. So why is stepping away from this attraction mode the key to becoming truly magnetic? Because true, lasting attraction isn't something you do. It's not a technique, it's not a line, it's a byproduct. It is the natural result of being an interesting, fulfilled, and passionate person. You don't try to be attractive. You become attractive by building a life of substance and purpose. When you shift your focus from, how can I get a woman, to, how can I become the most interesting, vital, and engaged version of myself, the entire dynamic flips. You stop being the hunter and you start being the prize. You stop chasing and you start attracting. Your value is no longer determined by someone else's approval. Your value comes from the life you are actively creating. It comes from your experiences, your knowledge, your passions, and your connections to the world around you. This directly relates to a powerful psychological concept known as intrinsic value. We all have it. It's the inherent worth we possess, independent of external factors like wealth, status, or relationship status. A 2020 study published in Personality and Individual Differences found that individuals who actively invest in their intrinsic value through learning new skills, cultivating deep social connections, and pursuing meaningful hobbies report higher levels of self-esteem and are perceived by others as having significantly higher long-term mate value. When you focus on building your own intrinsic value, you become more valuable to yourself first, which is the prerequisite for becoming truly valuable to anyone else. The best analogy I've ever heard for this is simple but profound. Be the lighthouse, not the tugboat. Think about it. The tugboat frantically scurries around the harbor, chasing after ships, trying to guide them in. It's a life of constant effort, constant chasing. The lighthouse, on the other hand, does none of that. The lighthouse stands tall. It stands strong. And it focuses on one thing and one thing only: building its own light. It works on making its light as bright, steady, and reliable as it can be. And by simply doing that, by focusing entirely on its own purpose, the ships naturally navigate towards it. The ships are drawn to its strength, its clarity, its reliability. Your job, gentlemen, is to stop being the tugboat. Your job is to build your light. So how do we do this? How do you conduct an attraction reset? I give my clients a very specific and sometimes challenging assignment. I want you to take a complete and total break from trying to attract anyone for 60 days. That means 60 days with no dating apps. Delete them from your phone. No going to bars with the hope of meeting someone. No actively seeking a partner in any way. 0. For 60 days, you will take all of that energy, all of that time, all of that mental bandwidth you were spending on chasing, and you will reinvest it 100% back into yourself, into building your light, Join that club you've thought about. Take that online history class. Start that project in the garage you've been putting off. Reconnect with old friends, not to complain about being single, but to have a genuine conversation. Build strong friendships with other men who are living interesting lives. Become a man who has stories to tell, experiences to share, wisdom to offer. Fill your own life with so much purpose and activity that you barely have time to think about being lonely. I know this can sound terrifying to some. 60 days, but I'll fall behind, I'll miss my chance. That is the voice of scarcity. I promise you, you will miss nothing. What you will gain is everything. The men who commit to this process, they come back operating from a completely, fundamentally different energy. They are calmer. They are more grounded. They are more interesting because they've been doing interesting things. They shift from the needy energy of asking, "Do you like me?" intent to the confident, implicit communication of, "This is my great life and I am deciding if you would be a good fit for it." That energy, that quiet, self-possessed lighthouse energy, is magnetic. Women feel it instantly. It's the difference between a man who needs a woman to make his life good and a man who has a good life that he is generously willing to share. That is the ultimate goal. So I have a question for you. If you found this idea of the lighthouse versus the tugboat surprising or powerful, if it resonated with you, I want you to go to the comment section right now and type the word lighthouse. It's a powerful symbol for this new way of thinking, and I want to see how many of you are ready to stop chasing and start building. So let's bring this all together. The lie society sells you is that your worth is tied to your relationship status. But the truth, the real truth, is that genuine happiness and attractiveness are a byproduct of what I call relationship independence. And we've learned today that this is built on 3 unshakable pillars. Pillar number 1, completing your own circle. Pillar number 2, developing outcome independence. And pillar number 3, hitting the attraction reset. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. So here is your simple 3-step action plan for this week. I call it the doctor's prescription. First, do the completeness audit. Write down one thing you've been putting off until you find the right person, and go do it this week. Solo. Second, start the Independence Challenge. For the next 7 days, consciously make choices and hold opinions without seeking external validation from anyone. And third, research one new activity that genuinely interests you. A class, a club, a volunteer opportunity. Just take the first step. Now, I know exactly what some of you might be thinking. Dr. Wells, this sounds lonely. It sounds like you're telling me to give up on love. It is the exact opposite. You're not giving up on love. You are giving up on desperation. You are making yourself so whole, so fulfilled on your own, that when love does come into your life, it's the cherry on top of an already delicious sundae. It's not the entire meal. Gentlemen, you are not too old to be magnetic. You have simply been operating from the wrong energy. Fix the energy, and everything else follows. Your entire life, with or without a partner, begins to transform. So if you are ready to start day 1 of operating from choice, not need, I invite you to commit yourself. First, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future guides on building a powerful life after 60. Second, go to the comments right now and type the word choice. It's your commitment to yourself to operate from a place of abundance, not need. I want to see you commit. Now, building this inner confidence is the foundation, but it's also important that your physical vitality matches that inner strength. That's why I often recommend 2 safe, science-backed supplements to support the energy and blood flow you need to live this active, independent life. You'll find links to both in the pinned comment and the video description below. For more practical, science-backed advice on thriving after 60, watch this video next, where we break down 3 common foods that could be draining your energy. Thank you for investing your time with me today. Remember, stay strong and stay independent.